All right, welcome everyone to this installment of our financial literacy series. It's all about continuing education. Um, we're going to also talk about trade schools, but since this is following our college conversation, it made more sense to just go straight into continuing education. So, what we're going to talk about, we're going to answer these 5 questions by the end of this presentation. What is continuing education? What are the benefits of continuing education? How is that different than college? How do you pay for continuing education? And where do you go for continuing education classes or training? So, the first question, what is continuing education? Continuing education is a very broad term that encompasses a lot. It's when adults return to formal instruction to remain current in their career, to develop employable skills, to train for a new job, to earn a degree, or just to develop a personal interest or any personal interest, that should say. So it's very broad. The key is that continuing education involves you learning more, getting more knowledge, more skills, more experience in a particular area. So continuing education can look a lot of different ways. It can be simple tutorials about how something works. It can be you going back to school to learn with us or anyone else. Video lessons online. There's a lot of online instruction going on right now about a lot of different topics. It can be online materials like an ebook or a lecture from somebody who actually gives you more information or insight about something. It can actually be research looking into understand more about a topic. It can be you setting a goal and you not just setting a goal, but figuring out what it's going to take to achieve that goal. And yes, it can be you actually getting a degree. So if getting a degree is part of continuing education, then we have to ask the question, how is continuing education different from college? We did a lot of conversation over the last 2 weeks about college, what it is, how to pay for it, the different pieces of it, how it can benefit you in your life. But how is continuing education different from college? College is a form of continuing education. If you think of the word continuing, it's just ongoing. So you as an adult are continuing or having ongoing educational opportunities to better yourself professionally or personally. College is a credit situation where you're going to classes for a certain number of credits, and those credits add up and accumulate toward a degree, whether it's an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's, or a doctorate. Every class has a certain number of credits attached to it, and those credits add up until you get enough to satisfy the degree requirements. A lot of continuing education opportunities outside of college are non-credit. There, you don't accumulate something that leads towards a particular degree. You may accumulate something called continuing education units. You may accumulate enough hours to get a particular certification, but you will not get a degree. So that's just the difference between what's defined as continuing education, I use my air quotes, compared to college. College is for credit to add up to a particular degree that you're seeking, and other continuing education opportunities are not for credit, but they are for your betterment and they are for your education and your growth as a person and an employee and a professional. Okay. Now, I do have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end, but if something is confusing along the way, slow me down, stop, put it in the chat, unmute yourself, ask a question, no problem, okay? So that is the difference between college, which is everything we talked about for the last 2 weeks, which is also important, and continuing education, which even if you get a college degree, you want to continue to grow and learn and educate yourself. And the majority of those opportunities are not for credit. That is really the only difference between the two. Getting a college degree still falls under continuing education because it's post your high school career, your high school years. Anything after that, as an adult, you're continuing to educate yourself. So, what are the benefits of continuing education? So, it's a lot of them. So, let's go through these. It increases your chances for a promotion. So, let's say you have a job and you're looking at somebody who's kind of in the same position or a position that you want to go into, and the only difference between you and them perhaps may be a certificate. It might be a license. It could be and when I say license, not a driver's license, a license perhaps to practice a particular area in that career. It could be a college degree. It may simply be you not continuing your education has gotten you stuck in this particular role in your job, and you can't move up without continuing to learn. So as you embark in continuing education opportunities, it increases your chances for promotion on your job. And with those promotions come an increase in salary. A lot of times people don't understand that if you talk to an HR professional, human resources, the people who sign you up, give you your benefits package, or make sure that you have your application completed and all of those things, your W-2 form, what they do to determine how much money they offer you is they begin to look at, okay, how many years have you been working? So job experience, how much education do you have? Do you have any diplomas, degrees, certifications? All of those begin to add dollar amounts to your salary. So the more you continue to educate yourself, particularly the more you begin to get these types of hard things like a certificate, a license, or degree, your salary goes up simply because you have that piece of paper. It also increases your ability to make a career transition. Let's say that you're working in one area of your job, but you want to do something else. You having that education to do something else will allow you to jump from that where you are now into the next part of your career. But you can't kind of make a jump without knowing what's there, what's required, having the education to be able to support that or anything. So being able to continue your education is a benefit to you being able to transition your career. It also makes you more marketable and employable. When people look at who they want to hire, they have a certain list of requirements that this particular employee needs to meet to be able to get this job. They have to have it. And you see it when you look at job announcements. Raul sends out job announcements all the time, once a week. And if you look at those job announcements, or even in our Facebook group, we have the job announcements there as well. As you look at them, they say minimum 5 years experience, or must have a car, must have this. These various things are requirements that make you employable. And the least, when you have a smaller amount of those requirements met, it makes you less and less employable. Something as simple as, do you have a driver's license, can mean the difference between whether or not you get a job or not, because that job may require you to go to another office or go to another job site or meet your employer somewhere or go out and see customers. And if you don't have a driver's license to get and to be able to drive, then now you've X'd yourself out of that particular position. So continuing your education on any level will make you more marketable so that you can get various jobs, and make you more employable so that those jobs you qualify for, you can actually get. Okay. It also increases your personal development and improves your lifestyle. So a lot of times when we talk about continuing education, we only talk about it in the sense of employability and being able to have the certificates and licenses and degrees that you need to be able to get a job. But in all actuality, as an adult, the more you continue to learn and grow, the better you are as a person, the more you have to offer your children, the more you have to offer your family and your household and your community. Simple things like right now, we're in the middle of an election. Are you able to explain the election process to your family? Are you able to explain and participate in that process within your community? Or is there some education that you need to understand even how to register to vote? So continuing education is not just about making sure you're able to have all of these things so that you can have a great job and all of that, but also so that you can be a great person and a wonderful citizen for yourself, for your family, and for your community. So there are certain personal development things that you can do. Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to change a tire? Just simple things so that you're able to survive in this society. That is part of a benefit of you participating in continuing education activities. And then I threw this one at the end because it's important to me. If you having one of the major benefits of continuing education is that you provide yourself multiple streams of income. The more you learn, the more you can do. And then the more you can do, the more you can monetize and be able to create kind of your own personal economy so that you're a bit buffered from when the world collapses, kind of like it is now. So if you look at some, I'm sure many of you probably know somebody who had one job. And when they lost that one job due to the pandemic, now they were unemployed and they had no money coming in. But what if they had enough education to say, okay, this job shut down, but I'm able to do this because I have education in this. So let me go shift to this. Or they were doing them at the same time or what have you. When you have multiple streams of income, multiple places where you're getting money from because you continue to educate yourself and continue to learn, you're now able to make sure that when times get hard, you still have money coming in from someplace. Case in point, I had 4 revenue streams at the beginning of this pandemic, lost 2 of them, and it didn't affect me as much because I still had 2 coming in. Gained 1 back, and that was wonderful because I continue to learn and try to make sure that I'm able to get more and more education and more opportunities for myself. Um, and so it's very important for you to make sure that you continue to educate yourself and get benefit, and that'll benefit you. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. And multiple streams of income. So the key is the benefit of continuing education is more education equals more opportunity for yourself. Okay. More education equals more opportunity. So the question I have for you, I want you to put it in the chat. You can unmute, you can raise your hand. But during these last 9 months of quarantine and COVID and our time away from each other, what is something you learned recently that can help you in work or in your personal life? Just think of something that you've learned. Again, we oftentimes think of continuing education only around employment, only around college, and we don't realize that we as adults have to continue to learn. I'll start it off. I started this quarantine and the stock market crashed, everything crashed, right? And so I began to learn about investments, and I learned a lot and made a nice chunk of money over this 9 periods of time, 9 period time frame, because I continue to learn. It's not within my job scope. It's not something that I do as an educator. It's not something that I do in entertainment. It's something that I wanted to learn as a professional, as a personal, in my personal life, how to handle money better, how to invest, how to take the money I have and make it make money for me. And that yielded me nicely over this break. So what is something that you've learned and put yourself in a continuing education environment to experience so that you can continue to grow as a person or as an employee?
So Denise, I would like to find out, where did you take this investment class? That would be my next continuation.
That would be your next thing. Yes. So actually, I did not take a class at first. I did not take a class. There are a lot of them online and you can just search them. But at first, I simply went to Google and started to research. And once I picked a platform, there are several platforms out there. There's Robinhood, there's E-Trade, there's different platforms that you can use to invest in. Then once I picked one, I looked at all the education that platform had, because they have a lot of videos, they have a lot of blogs, they have a lot of different things where you can learn how to use their platform. And then that just grew into the next thing, research what to avoid doing, the common mistakes for beginning investors, the best stocks in a particular industry. And every day I just read something else, or every day I just watched a new video. And so now I'm to the point where if I want to continue to grow, I probably do need to look at some basic class, but everything, and I'm going to talk about money in a minute, everything doesn't always require you having to pay money up front. So for me, I just started researching, I started Googling, and I started reading, and it got me going with, I think I just started with like $100. It wasn't even a lot of money. And then any extra money, I committed myself, and I won't go too deep in this. You can email me, we can talk one-on-one, but um, I committed myself to everything that I wasn't spending that I normally would. I would put that in there. So I would normally spend gas money going back and forth to the office, right? Well, I wasn't going back and forth to the office because we were quarantined. So all of that gas money I began to invest. So little things like that I learned to do, and so that it didn't really, it was an asset to an addition to my lifestyle as opposed to me taking away from it. So that's just something I learned, but it really was just started with me Googling and researching.
Can this be offered to us as a class?
I will talk to Raul, and we'll get a actually we were talking about that. We have a professional who wants to talk with you all about investing and life insurance and saving for the future. So yes, that's coming up before the end of the year.
Thank you.
So what have you all learned in this period of time? What's something new that you've taught yourself, or that somebody's taught you, or that we've taught you? You've been with us, right? So what is something that you've learned recently that can help you in your work or personal life? And again, you can put it in the chat. I see a chat there. Raul says he's learned about the power of positive thinking. Wow, that's a good one because that'll benefit you in so many different areas. And said she learned how to use tech like Zoom. That was a learning curve for a lot of people, being forced to learn Zoom and Google Meet and things like that. So that's wonderful. I'll give it a couple more seconds if anybody else wants to contribute something that you've learned during this time.
So I learned not only what you have been teaching from, I mean, I learned a lot from the classes that you have been offering, but also just watching you and sort of absorbing how you teach. That is a great skill. I think it's one thing to have an experience or knowledge of something, and it can be it's another thing to be able to share it in a manner that students feel comfortable, non-judgmental. I think your attitude has been the pace at which you go. So it's a great learning experience for me to learn. I mean, to understand how, if in future, if I have to teach something like this to others, how can I do it? And to be honest with you, just watching and taking these classes made me realize that, maybe this is some way I can contribute back to uh, the literacy board by helping out in future in any capacity that I can.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I share that compliment with the wonderful presenters.
Can I share?
They do a phenomenal job presenting and have for the past several weeks. But you made a great point that you can also learn by watching others. And that's a great point. And communication skills, that's what you're really talking about, learning communication, effective communication and presenting skills. That's a great thing that you can attribute, and you can transfer that skill to work and your personal life, because of course you've got to sit in front of somebody for an interview or for any type of job review and things like that, and you want to present yourself in the best way possible. So kudos to you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so you see how important continuing your education is as an adult, and not just stopping when your schooling stops, and not just kind of compartmentalizing education in a school setting, but understanding that continuing your education, it's a lifelong thing. So then the question becomes, now that we know we need to continue our education and we understand the benefits of continuing our education, well, how are we going to pay for this thing, right? Well, there's a number of ways. And one of the first ways that a lot of people miss out on is that they don't ask their employer, particularly if the skills that you're trying to develop benefit your job, or will allow you to elevate in your job, sometimes employers have funds set aside for education, for educating their employees. Sometimes you need to ask because it's not always made known. And sometimes when it's made known, it's not always made known to those who are of all levels in the organization. Sometimes they'll just tell the top people that they need to go for professional development, but those funds are actually available to everyone. So start with your employer, especially if you continuing your education will benefit them and the work that you do for them. In addition, some employers have various internal trainings that you may be a part of. For example, we have a partner, McDonald's, who we work with their employees to improve their English and their customer service skills. Well, one of the reasons they want their employees to improve their English and their customer service skills is so that they can then be qualified to go into their management training program. So they'll do the training and they'll pay for the training, but you've got to be qualified to get into that training program. And so finding additional opportunities to better yourself so that you can skill up into the areas that they'll actually begin to fund is important as well. But just having a conversation with your employer and saying, hey, listen, this is what my goal is as an employee. This is where I want to grow to. And these are the courses or the trainings that I know I need to be able to be qualified for this position. Will you help me pay for them? The worst thing they can say is no. The best thing they can say is we'll pay for the entirety. Some employees will match funds where you put up half and they'll pay the other half, or they'll do reimbursement funds where you pay for the whole thing and then they pay you back once you've proven and completed the work. So just having a conversation with your employer is a great start. It's often an underutilized resource. So talk to your employers because sometimes they'll pay for your continuing education. Also, you can apply for federal financial aid. I know this was spoken about in our college as well. There are a lot of continuing education opportunities that will take financial aid money. Not all of them, because there are some requirements, some accreditations, some types of some statuses that those organizations and those schools or whoever's offering the continuing education has to meet to be able to receive that funding. But it's definitely something to ask about and see if you qualify for. And then there are private student loans. A lot of places offer private student loans, churches, other CBOs, that means community-based organizations like the Literacy Council, other nonprofit organizations will offer loans. I know somebody who got a lot of scholarships and loans simply because they had asthma. And the Asthma Association was giving out scholarships. All you had to do was have asthma and be going to school, and they got a lot of money for that. So there's a lot of places that people don't look for where you can get private loans and scholarships, which we'll talk about in a minute. Also, there are those who they really want students there, and it doesn't benefit them to have a course or have a program, whoever them is. It could be a college, it could be an organization like us. It doesn't benefit anyone to have a program and have no students. So oftentimes they'll allow for payment options. They may require a certain percentage upfront to make sure that you're serious, but then they'll allow you monthly payments until it's paid off. So always inquire about those as well to make sure that you're able to access these continuing education opportunities. You can talk to your bank. We did an entire series on banks and loans and credit cards and things of that nature. So you can talk to your bank. You know, we kind of always encourage that to be a last resort because that affects your credit, that affects other things, but it is on the list of possible funding sources for you and your continuing education experience. But if you can find a scholarship, any scholarship, I don't care if it's a book scholarship, which is usually worth like $500, or, you know, a full scholarship, which will pay for any and everything, scholarships, because you don't have to pay that money back. And scholarships, that's really a numbers game. Like if you apply for 100 scholarships, you'll probably get 10. But if you apply for one, you're like one out of thousands of people applying for that one scholarship. And so you decrease your likelihood of getting money when you just apply to one or two or three scholarships. Apply to as many as possible. They add up. 1,000 here, 500 there, 5,000 there. They add up and they absolutely help. So scholarships, absolutely, you want to go for continuing education opportunities, just like you would for colleges, because a college is a continuing education opportunity. And so now that we know the importance of continuing education, we know the benefits of continuing our education, we have some idea on how to pay for our continuing education. The question is now, well, where do we go to continue our education? A few places. LCMC, you're here now. You are in the middle of a continuing education experience. Welcome. We love continuing to offer you these opportunities to grow and learn and better yourself for your employment, your profession, your family, and yourself. We are not the only uh, community-based organizations or adult education organizations. There are others, and some of them offer things that we don't offer. So if there is something that you have in your mind that you're thinking about that perhaps we don't offer, talk to Raul or myself, and we can let you know which one of our partner organizations do offer those. For example, currently we're not offering citizenship classes. We plan to beginning next year, but we're not right now. And so there might be somebody who's like, I need it now. Okay, well, we'll hook you up with one of our partner organizations who currently have those, for example. So understand that a lot of nonprofits and community organizations provide continuing education opportunities. Most of them provide them for free or low cost, okay? So that's always a great place to start for certain things. For example, we have a GED and college prep options, courses. So people who want to better their English skills and their math skills so that they can get into Montgomery College, for example. You can go to Montgomery College straight away if you like. And if your skills aren't high enough, then they make you take classes that are not for credit, but you still have to pay for them. Whereas they're teaching the exact same content that we would be teaching in terms of math and English for free. So, look at multiple resources who might provide the same course, but you may be able to save some money someplace else. Trade schools are another place where you can find continuing education opportunities. We're going to do an entire presentation on those next week, this time. So hopefully we'll see you there for that. Of course, online, everything just about is online right now. And that's wonderful. And it's convenient because that means that in the middle of the night when the babies sleep, you can be up learning where it would have been a challenge before because you had to be in person while you had to shuttle them around and all this other, type of distractions and challenges. But online, you get in Google and you search anything you want. I learned how to braid my daughter's hair. Not her regular hair. I'm talking about the extensions that they charge like $300 for to take to somebody and they do her hair. I went online, watched some videos, bought some hair, and learned how to braid her hair. And of course, my daughter's like, oh, we should tell everybody you can do this and make money. No, I did not learn this to start a business. I can though. That can be another revenue stream if I want. If I just need $150 someplace, I can tell the neighbor's daughter I'll do her hair, no problem. But I learned that for my personal development to save that $150 that I normally would have spent having her go to someone else to do her hair. So online, any type of interest you might have, any idea, we talked about investing, for example, you can go online, search and see what's available from blogs that you can read to YouTube videos that you can watch to online books, ebooks that you can read so that you don't have to wait for, Amazon or somebody to send you a physical book to actual online classes, not from individuals like myself who offer online classes all the way up to college level classes that you can take online. Okay. And then there's community colleges like for Montgomery County, it would be Montgomery College, who have either continuing education or workforce development departments. When you go to look for continuing education opportunities, those are the two terms that they typically fall under, either continuing education or workforce development. So let's take a second and look at both of those, okay? So we have our wonderful page, lcmcmd.org. And you can see, for example, we offer digital literacy classes. That's a fancy term for computer classes, for you to learn various programs. If you know absolutely nothing about computers, then we have a beginner class that Raul teaches, all the way down to the ability to get certifications on your own. So G Suite are all the Google classes, for example. Google has an equivalent program to Microsoft. So if you think of Microsoft Word, they have G Suite Docs. And all it is that it's virtual as opposed to an actual software program that you have to download to your computers. So say you want to become an administrative assistant for someone. Right now, you're simply answering the phones in the office, but you actually want to upskill and become an administrative assistant. Well, for you to go from simply answering the phone and taking messages to actually being able to work with somebody and their schedule and make sure their presentations are right and make sure that, you know, all their memos and emails go out properly. Well, you need skills for that. And when people see things like, oh, she's certified in Sheets, which is the same as Microsoft Excel, that begins to, one, of course, that continuing education opportunity improves you and your skills personally, but professionally, it also makes you more employable. Those benefits that we talked about before, it makes you more employable and more marketable because these types of things are on your resume. Now, say you want to begin to start a business. Well, there's certain things you need to know about starting a business, how to write a business plan if you want funding from somebody, things like that. And all of these are free from a community-based organization, in this case is us, that can help you continue your growth and your development. And you can just go to our website if you're looking for this and hit programs. You'll see computer skills and digital literacy, and that'll bring you to this page as well as any of our other programs. That's just one example of some continuing education work. Let me take you to Montgomery College. Again, we're a community-based organization, so our work is free. Our offerings are free or low cost. When you go to someplace like Montgomery College, those will be for fee. Was there a question? No? Okay. When you go to someplace like Montgomery College, you'll have to pay for these. Because they're not credit, they won't cost as much as a college class will. So you kind of have to be able to map out what your goal is and where you're really trying to get to find out which one of these continuing education opportunities will benefit you most towards achieving your goal. Is it that you need a college degree, or do you just need a certificate or a license? And starting at the end of this month, we'll begin matching students with community coaches. And that coach is a professional who will help you achieve a particular goal, you know, work with you towards each step. If you're interested in being a part of that program, make sure you reach out to Raul so he can begin to connect you with somebody who will help you figure out, do I need a degree? Do I need a certification? Can I just keep taking classes at Montgomery with LCMC? Because it will all depend on your goal. But let's say your goal is something a little more that needs a little more than what we can offer. So again, Montgomery College, you go to workforce development. If you were to take their credit classes, you would go to academics. This is how you get a degree. If you're looking for something else, you would go to their workforce development page, and they begin to offer you various things in various areas.
I think we have a question from Babak.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Sorry. I was too late today. Sorry.
No problem.
I have a question about the. Is there any TOEFL classes, and if the language classes are free or not?
So with community-based organizations like us, our classes are free or low cost, meaning they're usually like less than $100 if you pay anything at all. Okay. When you go, if you see here, English language skills and GED. So this is Montgomery College. That's their English language skills and GED offerings. These will be for cost because it's through the college. They will not be free.
They are free, yes?
No, these are not free.
No, they're not free, yes. Okay,
no,
okay,
but they do have offerings. like you see adult ESOL, for example, which is what you
yes.
ESOL. But you would need to go to a community-based organization like us to continue your English skills for free until we'll get you as high as you can go, and then you can go over there and save a bit of money if you like. But you see that there's so many offerings, so many opportunities for anything, any types of test prep. So we've begun doing TEAS prep, for example, for those who are looking to get into nursing programs. Of course, we do GED as well.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
And then perhaps you're in a job that just needs a certification. Let's see what type of certifications they have.
What about the test? The tests are free or not?
Which tests?
For example, the SAT or GED or.
So again, if you're taking them with us, they're free. If you take them with, when you take classes like that with Montgomery College, for example, the training, you're paying for the preparation, and then you have to go pay for the test yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's usually not integrated together.
Thank you.
No problem. But they have various, and then you see here, they have scholarship opportunities within. Now, these are different scholarship opportunities than with the college. That's why it says WDCE. That's Workforce Development. What's their CE stand for? Continuing Education. So they have scholarships specific to their program. So always look for those. But like I said, this is just another example of some of what they have available. And then there's lifelong learning things like the Personal Finance Academy. That might be where you can find your investment class in, for example. Different employability skills. Those can sometimes include communication classes, interview skills, resume writing. A lot of those we do as well. So again, I encourage you, if you're looking for something to this effect, to check with Raul or myself to make sure we don't offer them, or one of our partners offer them for free first. Or you can definitely go to Montgomery College. They have a lot of offerings, but it will be at cost. So there's just a number of places that you can find continuing education opportunities. And those are one of them. The key is that whether you go to Montgomery College, whether you continue to work with us, whether you Google and take a class online, never, ever, ever stop learning. When you stop learning, you stop growing. It really is just that simple. And if you stop growing, then you no longer make yourself available for opportunities that continue to grow and change. Because I posted a picture on my social media the other day. It was a picture of a cameraman hanging out the side of a helicopter, taking video of something down below. And what was next to that picture was a picture of a drone. You know what a drone is? The little machines that fly around. Because now that cameraman who was hanging out the side of the helicopter and that helicopter pilot, both are out of work because of that one drone. That drone can fly and take pictures, so we don't need the helicopter pilot. We don't need the photographer, the videographer. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where, because society is changing, because technology is changing, because the world is changing, and you're not changing, now you're no longer in a position to succeed and prosper for yourself, for your family, or for your community. So you can never, ever, ever stop learning. You must take advantage of every continuing education opportunity available to you, or continue to look for more. Again, whether it's with a community-based organization like us, whether it's something online, whether it's a college degree or just work through the college, just never stop learning. And if you need help kind of mapping out what that looks like to achieve a particular goal, reach out to myself or Raul, and we will definitely be there to make sure that we either help you ourselves or connect you with somebody who can. Okay?